You're listening to the SoleStrategies podcast hosted by the team here at SoleStrategies. We hope you like the latest episode and thanks for tuning in.
We are live in the next right now. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know things got a little hectic with everything that's going on, but at least we're going to have a really interesting episode and have a whole lot to talk about. So, do you want to introduce yourselves to the people? Let them know who you are,
Sure.
why you're running, and what you're running for.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Leonardo Coelho. I am running for City Council, District 16 in the Bronx, New York City. It's an honor to be on, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. So, I was going to just dive right into the questions about your run, but in lieu of today's events, let's talk about it. How are you feeling today? And this is something that you saw coming. In case of those of y'all who don't know, but you got to be living under a rock or on a different planet if you don't know what's going on right now. A lot of Trump supporters have decided that it would be a wonderful idea to storm the Capitol while all of our senators and Congress people are there trying to do a ceremonial uh, exchange so that they can certify the election results. And a lot of Trump supporters did not want to see that happen today. They believe all of the propaganda and just straight up lies that the Trump campaign has been spewing since November 6th. And today they've taken it upon themselves to interrupt those proceedings in hopes to basically overthrow the government. People keep calling it a protest, but at this point, this isn't a protest. This is an attempted coup, especially since the Defense Department has gotten involved. It is officially an attempted political coup, not even political, violent coup, because they have weapons and a woman has been shot. So now.
Yeah, that's a lot. Huh? I mean, you did a great job summing it all up for those that might not be paying attention right now. But personally, so many mixed emotions. I mean, I'm still trying to process everything that's happening. There's anger. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. There's just so much that I'm trying to process this myself, and I think that's an important step for me to do because my phone has been kind of going off the hook.
Literally.
For many people in my community and friends and families, I'm their first introduction into politics, right? I'm a first time candidate as well too. I jumped into this a little over a year ago, and so folks are asking me and looking to me for guidance and asking me what's happening, what's the meaning of this, and it's hard to give answers right now. It's hard to tell folks what this is truly about, because I'm looking at it from so many different perspectives. I'm thinking about it from an immigrant perspective. Many of those people that fled certain countries because of fear of things like this, right? Of fear of guerrillas, of army guerrillas taking over the government and people going around killing people. So they fled their countries in order to come to America to live safe, and to be a part of a true democracy. And for them to be seeing that, there's shock and fear in those people as well too. So it's like, what do I say to those folks? I think about all of those protesters that were out there, those Black Lives Matter protesters that were out there doing peaceful marches and got attacked by law enforcement, and then you see how the handling of this was, and you're kind of like, what is this? Like, people were out there peacefully protesting, and we got beat up, we got tear gas and got hit with clubs and shot at and all kind of things. But these individuals could jump in and basically storm the Capitol, and they were just met with the least amount of resistance and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to look at it from so many different people's perspectives, seeing how they're probably feeling and seeing right now, and then trying to get feedback and some support around those things.
Yeah, I was just watching some of the updates, and not only were they met with the least possible force, there's videos circulating right now on the internet of police officers, Capitol police officers, taking selfies with some of the, let's call it what it is, terrorists that have broken into the Capitol building. They are encouraging this behavior. And just like you said, like, it brings up a lot of important points. I know people who, like you said, fled their countries to try to avoid things like this must be experiencing some severe PTSD right now and trauma. This must bring up a lot of emotions in them, because this isn't what America is supposed to be. And then we've seen, not just this year with the protests, but we've seen for many years Black and brown people being gunned down violently for having gum, for not, using a turn signal, for a broken tail light, for stealing a pack of cigarettes, for selling drugs, like whatever, things that are not as severe as what we're seeing right now, which is a terrorist attack on American soil. So it's just a lot to digest, and it's a lot to take in. And I don't even know what to do with this information, but I do know one thing for sure. If people didn't know before today what white privilege is, they're seeing it on full display today. If there is any lesson that needs to be taken away, I don't want to hear another soul say that they don't know what white privilege is. Because if this was BLM protesters, if this was even Antifa or anybody else, they would have been gunned down. They would not have made it inside of that building.
No.
So it's just crazy to see.
Not. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's a complete display of white privilege. Those pictures that are coming out of people taking pictures at Nancy Pelosi's desk and taking pictures in the chamber. That to me, honestly, that's the equivalent of those black and white pictures where white people were hanging, people, and they would just take pictures in Polaroid smiling, like,
look what
we accomplished. Look what we accomplished.
So right.
And I think it's just really just our modern day version of that. But it's just them saying, look how we are lynching the democracy process, and your democracy and stuff. And we're proud of it. And just like those people were proud about taking pictures and burning, Black people, it's the same thing. And nothing came out of that back then. And now it's like, okay, so what's going to happen now?
And I have those same questions. Like,
the process.
They don't even have masks on. They're not trying to hide their identities. They're not, shielding their face. They're taking pictures and uploading it on the internet with their own Twitter accounts. Like, they're not trying to hide this at all. And that is such a great point. I didn't even think about that comparison, but that is an excellent comparison, because it's just full display. It's full, look at me, look what I can do, and there's nothing you can do about it. I feel like they don't think there will be any repercussions for this whatsoever. I think they think that they'll be able to go home tonight, see their families, kiss their child on the forehead before they go to sleep, and that's something that a lot of Black and brown people will not be able to do after having encounters with police officers. So it's really just heartbreaking to see. It's just infuriating.
Yeah, it's tough because, and I also, the last, over 10 years, I've been working, in the youth development and, education. And, I've activated and motivated a lot of young adults and young, children, and, to take a look at this democratic process and start to get them excited about that. And I'm just like, what do I say to them now? Like what do I say? Like when they come to me with these questions now about what they're seeing on the news, because this is going to last for a while. This is going to be in the news cycle for a very long time.
It is.
And it's like, what do I say to them now? It's like everything that I told them, the importance of it and why it's we have to be a part of this. They're gonna look at it like, why should I be a part of that? Like there's no winner in what just happened today. There's no winner.
You're so right. And it just shows how democracy is literally just an idea that's held together by people who choose to uphold that idea. But when one side decides, we're just not going to participate anymore, you realize how frail that idea really is. Like, and it's been going strong for nearly 300 years. It's something that we have both, although we've had opposing views on how to live within the democracy, we have never had one side completely just say, nah, I'm done with democracy. And we're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with that right now. And it's just like a really, really hard pill to swallow, because we did the right things politically. The Democratic candidate won the presidency, and now he has won both the House and the Senate. Politically, it's supposed to be a victory, and then we're supposed to be able to move forward. But when a side decides that none of this politics, none of these plans that you've set up for centuries, none of this matters anymore, and we're just going to do whatever we feel like it and just take that power back, it puts you in a really confusing position, because it's like, how do we move forward from this? We don't know anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think for me right now, what I have to decide is that if the events of today, is this the beginning of something, or is this the end, or is this the end of something?
Yeah.
That's what I'm having trouble processing right now. And I think, as some time comes and I continue to analyze and look at the responses that we get from our leaders, but it's hard. I have to figure that part out in mind. Like, I have to figure out, is this something that is like the last dying ditch effort of a part of our history that's just fighting its last breath to just stay around, or is this the beginning of what the future are going to be for our country?
And I'm laughing because it's just like, I hope not. Like, I understand. I see how it could go either way. I can see how this is white supremacy's last stand, and they're just like, we're going to give it everything we got, because we know, like, the youth, his knowledge is too accessible at this point. So they're realizing at this point that people are too wise. They've done too much research to be able to win that battle, as far as trying to paint a certain picture without other people having the proper context. But now that the internet exists, now that you can Google, now that we have generations growing up where information is literally at their fingertips, it's harder for them to ignore their history, and it's harder for them to convince people that, oh, Black people are inferior, or if you do this, you're going to go to hell, or all of these things. It's hard for them to push those ideas onto people, because we're too, for lack of a better word, woke. Everybody knows what's up at this point. So it could be that this is their last fight, and them trying to assert themselves, and them trying to say, no, we're not giving up. And then hopefully we have Republican leadership who has, I want to say another thing, but who has the courage to stand up for democracy. We're going to really see where people's hearts really lie. That's what it's going to boil down to, because it could go.
But the problem is that there's another side to that coin, right? And so those things that you mentioned as being, powerful tools that have, kind of given us information. It's also a tool that unfortunately has been used to fuel some of this nonsense as well. It's common knowledge that, many of these social platforms have algorithms that kind of feed information consistently to people, right? And so if that person is sitting in front of their, social media, and they're consistently being bombarded with this one-sided information, oh, the election was stolen, oh, they're doing this, oh, they're doing that. It's like you just, that's all you're processing. That's all you're not even seeing the other side of things. And so that same tool that has given us, the knowledge and information and liberated us a little bit, is also arming and fueling other folks, which make up for probably most of that crowd that was there, because of these algorithms and how it's being used to fuel these mindsets that we're going to have to be dealing with, hopefully for not too long, but we're going to have to deal with this for a while.
You are absolutely right. And you're absolutely right. But we're in a time where it's just like, certain people don't care what the truth is. Like, they can have the fact, like you're saying, they're living in these information ecosystems where it's just information that they're being fed that confirms their own biases, and they're not getting anything to the contrary. However, when that contrary information is presented to them as fact, and we know it's an undeniable fact, and we're feeding it to them, and we're like, look, the sky is blue. I'm showing you the sky. You can look and see it yourself. It's blue. You got people saying, nah, it's green. It's green. And then you're just like, the sky's blue. And I'm like, no, it's green. So we're just, it's just like, where do we go from here? Because Trump, that's one thing that Trumpism has successfully done. It has deteriorated reality to a point that I fear is to no return, but I hope I'm wrong. Because he has gotten people to, don't believe your lying eyes, believe me. So it's just, when you're a cult-like leader like that, and you have, like in this past election, 93% of Republicans still voted for Trump after 4 years of seeing what he's done, it's just like, I don't know what to do. But it's also, it's like, are those even the people that we can we even convince those people? Can we even work with those people? Or do we have to just work with the people who are willing to do the right thing? I don't even know. Sorry, my cat is in the way.
No problem. And you know what? You know, I'll be honest with you. Like, you know, if you, you know, for those of you of us that, you know, studied and looked at, you know, world history, like none of this is new either.
It's not.
Like, you know, dictators and all these people have used, you know, different type of methods to, you know, take over countries and to send certain messages out there, you know, all over the world. Like they'll use the news, they control the news, they control, like, free press. We, you know, we have it here, but in a lot of places around the world, they don't have it there. Like they control the narrative that's put out. And if if the narrative is controlled, you know how the saying is, you know, reality is a person's perception and stuff. So if that's what they're perceiving, that's the reality. You know, if you know, it's sad to say, but you know, we just had, like, I remember like a year or two ago, some athlete was walking around saying that the world is flat, and that actually got traction. Like people actually started contemplating, like, is the world flat? Like, are we serious? Just because it got on your feed, that doesn't really mean that's something that we should be even, you know, processing. Like, why are we talking about this? You know, and there's decades of science to prove that wrong, but yet we were still engaging in a conversation about that. That's ridiculous.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm laughing because it's true. Like, people, you know, the phrase willful ignorance. And that's really what we live in a world of. Like, do these people not know? Like, you look dumb. Like, this looks dumb. It doesn't sound smart. What you're doing is insane. You look crazy, but no one cares anymore. Like, just because one person said something and it sounds kind of good, or we're living in a world where just because a lot of people think something, it has to be true or has to have some truth to it. And it's like, no, you could all be wrong. You can all be wrong. But now it's like, oh, he agrees with my crazy theory. That means it's true. And that's led to people breaking into a Capitol building because of alleged voter fraud that 60 different court cases have proved that there is no evidence of whatsoever.
I think about all those staffers in the Capitol building and their families, you know, and you know, elected officials, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. Like you took an oath to serve the public and stuff, right? And so but then to be doing your duty today, and then all of a sudden your life is at stake. Like, you know, that's crazy for me to just process. You know, even for myself, like, even, you know, it made me have to take a step back and reflect, like, yo, this is getting, you know, a little crazy.
It's getting crazy.
It's hard to process on so many levels and stuff, you know. And then you know, law enforcement, you know, it's hard. You know, you try to, of course, those folks want to come home to their families as well too, you know. And so I do sympathize with them and their family as well too. But it's hard to make an argument for you when you're seeing such drastic, you know, ways that law is being enforced with two different communities and stuff. Correct. Like I just watched, you know, police officers in riot gear kind of escort people off the steps. Like, hey, can you not. Like if they was like ushers in a movie theater, like, hey, can you move down? Can you and with a shield and with a baton and a weapon, and they started kind of like walking down the steps. And hey, trust me, I'm glad. I've never been a proponent of violence, so I'm glad there was no violence. But I'm just saying that's not how you handle.
If there was ever a time to use force, today would be the day. Like, this is a literal terroristic threat where people have guns, bats. I've seen spears, horns, like weapons, and they are coming with the intention to do harm. Now, where the pepper spray? Where are all your favorite rubber bullets? Where are the shields? Like, where is the stuff?
Hey, you're listening to the SoleStrategies podcast. Take a moment to listen to some of our esteemed champions and their takeaways from the program.
And I'm glad that I was a part of that I had the opportunity to even be involved with that, with some legitimate organizations that help people who want to do right by other people, by communities.
Utilize my resources, utilize my networks. The last month, I've had some tremendous things happen.
It's your time to become a leader. Go to SoleStrategies.com to find out more.
And it just showed you, like, there is a clear divide here on who we can protect. And it's not even because it's like, who are they even trying to protect at this point? That's what I don't understand. Because they're trying to break into a building of elected officials, national level elected officials, and you're not trying your hardest to protect them because why? Because there's white people coming to kill them? It's not making sense to me. Like, it's not making sense to me. None of it makes any sense. I could try, not justify it because it's still wrong, but I could understand why they wouldn't protect Trump supporters coming through South Central LA. They don't want to protect those people. So they're going to be like, yeah, y'all, go ahead, do what you want. These are our elected officials. These are our senators and our congressmen, women and men, and you're still not protecting them either. So now I just have so many questions. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I mean, it's just racism is our country's, birth defect, right? And all of us, unfortunately, carry that burden of that birth defect. And so I think that, unfortunately, a white man even committing the most heinous crime is not looked at as a threat. Like, they didn't see those people as threats, Imani. Like, they looked at them as just like, I guess maybe like protesters or something. Like, no, like, these people are they're doing terrorist acts right now.
Yes.
But they was not perceived as threats in their eyes. And that's just a natural reaction, though. I think it's like they just saw their complexion and it just felt like it wasn't a threat to them. But if that would have been a black man, something within that person's DNA would have said, this is a threat.
Correct.
I need to, protect myself or whatever the case. And what would have happened at that point.
100%. It's getting very spooky out here right now. It really is. It really is. And I don't even know anymore. But how does this affect your campaign? Like, with all of this going on right now, how is it affecting your mindset right now? How is it affecting how you want to continue to run this race?
It's tough. I think that, I've been trying to beat the drum of like local politics is important. Or honestly, I'll say the local politics is the most important.
Correct. I agree with you.
And, seeing something like this is just, for me, disheartening a little bit. I felt the sense in the messages that I'm getting that, people's wins have been like taken out of their sails a little bit because it's like we got some momentum, and with the Joe Biden win, we had the news of the flipping Georgia, and so, but it seems like every time we take 2 steps forward, we take 5 steps backwards.
You're right.
And it's like, it's tough. It's something that I'm like, I don't know really how to continue to keep people focused and motivated when it's like, okay, yeah, we got Congress, but does this mean that every bill Congress passes, something's going to be stormed, something's going to be, there's going to be terrorist acts and stuff. I'm gonna have to worry about, bombs being put in places and stuff. Like that's not how we should be living. That's
it's not.
And people are going to be worried, and people are going to be upset for a very long time, and we're trying to figure out now, it's like, how do we gather people together and try to, because I'm thinking historically, we, this fight has seen a lot of setbacks, right? And so, how did the people that we stand on their shoulders right now, how did they, deal with these moments and stuff, and how did they galvanize people again? And that's what I'm looking for right now, Imani. I'm gonna reach out to some of the elders that I talk to for support and for guidance, and hopefully, I'll have a clear vision of where we're going to be going. I mean, we're not going to give up the fight, but
absolutely not.
But I do think that we need to,
recalibrate
and respect this moment right now, and know it, and try to, especially let people know that we understand what they're feeling right now, that we're and being empathetic and being, I'm just listening to people. They're just texts and calls, and right now all I could do is really give a lending ear and try to be as supportive as possible.
Yes. What I will say about you specifically running for a local government, I feel like, say all of this just turns to crap, it's going to be the local government who keep us afloat. And these positions are still really important. Like right now, or earlier today, the Defense Department denied the request from the DC police to send more, to send backups, to send the National Guard. The National Defense Department was like, nah, y'all good. Y'all need no help. So, which is crazy. But Virginia, the government there decided to send their National Guard in to help. So although certain things may not happen or be going well federally, it's nice to know that you have certain people in the proper positions who will, do the right thing, who will help, who are thinking about people, and who still care about democracy. So we may be seeing some crazy stuff on a bigger scale, but who knows? You being there in New York, you can probably help us in way more ways than our own federal government will. So
yeah, no, I agree, and I take local government in New York City very, very serious. I think that local government on a lot of levels really kind of trickles up. Government trickles up, right? And
for
so
sure.
if you think about many of the things that have been put into law on a federal level, a lot of that started locally first, and then and then actually spread out locally to the point that it had to then become the law of the land and stuff.
Right.
So I think it's important that we do continue to fight on the local level, continue to push our federal elected officials to keep doing holding up the good fight when it comes to that. But you're right, local politics is probably the most important thing that we have right now, because we truly have the pulse of the people, right? And we're there on the ground level with them. We're there speaking to people, and we're hearing their needs, and we're hearing their demands, and we have to take those things, internalize them, and then move them up the chain of command and stuff.
Right. You're right. So what is the biggest thing you want to accomplish? Say that, order is restored in the land, and we don't turn into the handmaiden's tale, and everything, continues as it was. What is your first call to action? What is your most important platform that you're trying to fight for once you get in there?
My biggest thing has always been, you had mentioned about education earlier, right? And, me coming from the education background, I've been on the front lines of education for a very long time, and one of my most influential mentors, Jeffrey Canada, really, really pounded the idea into my head that, the only way to end generational poverty is through education. And so, the education of my community in New York City, of the education of poor and Black and brown communities, is kind of the thing that, I'm gonna, tackle firsthand, first day in city council, and that, I think that's the, because we need to be able to draw a line in the sand and say, no, from here on in, our youth will have a better way that they're being educated, and because that's going to have impact generationally through our, through our families and our communities and stuff. And then, I think there's so many different aspects that then the COVID came in and exasperated even more. The lack of health care, the affordable living here, the lack of transportation, jobs, small business, the support that small businesses have. There's just so many things, Maya, that we do have to now really just start to really focus on, and almost to the point where it's like it's life or death, at this point. So we need to be able to fight. We need to galvanize. The good folks down in Georgia, they set the example of how if you rally folks together and you put them, you get a unified message that there is power in numbers, and the fact that they were able to flip a state like that, should send a ripple effect across this country, that if united we as people, we get together. Politicians need to understand that we have the power, like
100%.
And what we ask of you to do, you need to do that and stuff. And so I think that's going to be the most important thing that comes out of these last few months. And I think folks on a local level are starting to understand that. All the different communities, I'm seeing a lot of the different communities, the immigrant community, the Latino community, the Muslim community. I'm starting to see all of them starting to understand, like, hey, we have to do this in numbers. We have to all get together and understand that, no matter, what language we speak or what religions we speak, if there's nothing for us to eat, we all gonna be hungry and stuff.
That's a fact.
So that's why I think that's was the good thing that I think is coming out of this, and it's up to me to try to just continue to push that forward, continue to, foster the new level of leaders that are coming, and make sure that that's being done as well too. And all of that is just an important process that, of course, I can't do by myself.
Right.
And I look for, the family and community to all jump on board and do this with me.
I agree. I think once everybody understands that platforms like yours aren't going to harm anybody, it's going to uplift the community, it's going to positively impact these communities. And if we could all get clear messaging, for one, which you're very clear on what it is you want to do, which is great, that's an easy message to get behind, because especially in places like New York, even in Dallas, I live in Dallas, Texas. It's not that there's no education. It's not like we don't have public schools, but it's the quality of the education that's being provided to these kids. I was a substitute teacher in Dallas ISD while I was getting my master's. I just subbed when I wasn't going to school, and I got to go into the inner city schools, and they got books that's 10 years old, books that's sitting on the shelf collecting dust, teachers that don't even have certification in the class that they're teaching. They're just kind of in there, and it's a lot of disorder. It's like we're all going to school, and it's kind of treated like a daycare center, basically. You drop your kids off here for 8 hours, you come and get them after you get to work. And while you're there all day, they're not really learning a whole lot. I was substituting for a first grade class, and they didn't know how to spell their names. Not only did they not know how to spell their names, they didn't know what letters even went in their names. And it just shows you, it's like, y'all been coming to school since pre-K, and you don't even know what your name begins with. A for Amani, B for Brian. Like, they didn't even know that much. So the flaws in our education system run really, really deep. What are some of the ways that you think you can help with that?
Well, I think the first thing that needs to happen that in the education leadership has to become more diverse. I think, teaching Black and brown poor children is difficult, but you need to be able to relate to them, to properly be able to educate them and stuff. So you can come up with all these teaching tactics, and you can have all this different type of curriculums and all this, but there has to be a certain sense of understanding what this community is, and who are in this community, to understand many things. Like, for example, one of the biggest things that I did when I was a school administrator, is that I would try to close the gap between teachers that were coming here from other communities, other states, other places, and getting them to understand what our community and our children and our families are and stuff, you know. And when I was able to close those gaps, the teachers became better teachers, the students became better students and stuff, you know. And sometimes I would have to have tough conversations with them on money and tell a teacher who, you know, came from a well-off, you know, environment and explain to them, hey, look, you know, these children are poor, and poor is trauma. You know, so
it is.
You know, so there's different, just like there's different ways that you approach trauma. You know, we have to approach these children and families in a different way as well too. Not making any excuse for the type of education that they need to and their responsibilities when it comes to their education. But you need to understand that sometimes it is more difficult for a child that's in poverty to learn than it is for other children and stuff.
100%.
And when some of those teachers began to kind of really understand that, then they actually were able to become better teachers because they knew that it took a different approach to educating those children. And so leadership is very important. Diversity and leadership is very important. You know, the curriculums, like you said, the books and the way things are taught also need to be diversified as well too.
100%.
You know, children need to see, you know, more books with, you know, their likeness, and they need to, you know, they need to read stories that they can relate to. They can characters that they can relate to, characters that have names similar to their names, and family members as well too. And so I think it's really about diversifying, you know, the whole education system, and also including wraparound services. You know, many of our kids, you know, don't have the benefits of an after-school program with extracurricular activities, tutoring, and all these other different things that, you know, learning doesn't start and end in the classroom. You know, it's a constant thing, and you know, I do believe that we need more programs where the education system is beginning from the womb all the way up to college. You know,
Agreed.
You know, we have. You know, I was a part of an organization that had a program called Baby College, and Baby College was really about expecting mothers and putting them through a like 6 or 7 week course, teaching them about many different things, about infant developing, the cognitive development, the social emotional development, all these different things to make them and help them be better parents.
You're right.
You know, when the child is born, and then we continue to give them services all through when even they got out of high school and went into college. So that type of wraparound service throughout the entire education system, every child in our community should be afforded that.
You're so right. It's definitely a difference between like teaching at somebody and teaching with them. And I think that's like the type of approach that you're talking about, because you know, a lot of these curriculums, a lot of these tests, these standardized tests, and just a lot of things that they're, you know, mandated to teach in these schools, it's like, it's not very beneficial, and it's not communicated to them in a way that they can receive the information and retain the information and do anything with it. So it's all about the approach. But
yeah, I agree, definitely.
I believe in you. Well, is there anything that you would like to leave with the people? This is a really good conversation. It's talking like 5 hours, but I feel like it's in like an hour.
No, I appreciate the time. Yeah, no, I just want to, you know, just let everybody know. I know that, you know, we are going through some difficult times right now with what happened at the, you know, at Washington, D.C. But, you know, it's important to keep, you know, be as positive as possible. You know, we are standing on the shoulders of many people that came before us, that gave their lives for us to have many of the opportunities that we have right now. And so we you know, we can take a couple minutes. We could take, I'll give everybody 24 hours to process and be in their emotions a little bit. But then after that, we got to get up and we got to continue this fight, you know, and we got to make sure that we are doing the right thing. You know, we're doing things for, you know, for the betterment of our community at all. And let's just, you know, go out there, look around, be involved with your local politics. Do some research on the candidates and the local officials that are representing you on a local level. Hold them accountable for the things that, you know, they say they're going to do. Hold them accountable for the things that you want them to do, and just be more involved in the process. All the information is there at your fingertips, and understand that those people work for you. Make sure that they're doing the right things for you.
Yes. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in with us, and thanks for coming to talk to us. And I hope we can talk to you again soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Be safe. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.